One of the things I've been thinking about recently, and I'm sure you experienced this, especially after all that Hillsong New York had been through, is how to lead and pastor those who have been wounded by leadership or hurt, but even those that haven't directly. We live in a moment in history where there's like so much suspicion of leadership, and there's vicarious hurt from others. And how have you navigated that reality as you try to lead a people in the midst of an age where there's a suspicion of leadership, especially religious leadership, the thought that, perhaps they don't have our best intentions in mind, or there's ulterior motive or agenda. Curious how you navigated that.
Yeah, I think for us, consistency's been part of that. So just being consistent in showing up, our posture towards people, being available on Sundays. My wife and I aren't sequestered away anywhere during a service. Like my wife Danny stands on the doors every Sunday, every service. As people are coming in, as people head out, I stand at the front of the stage, and anyone that wants to come and talk or get prayer or anything like that is able to. So there's a bit of an availability, there's a consistency of that. We in planting a church in Perth, we led a lot through hospitality, and that's always been a part of how, fundamental part of what I believe has been a core value in our church. So what does welcome home mean? Not just as a sign, but as it relates to kind of your experience of a church service, but what does it mean in terms of what that team is like? And so, having people in our home has been huge for us, and people able to see us in environments that are not just church environments. And hopefully what they're then observing is a consistency of who we are in our family environment, and when we're hanging out at Central Park through to when we're at church. And I think some of that just takes time. And then we consciously were looking at, well, what do we need to communicate and preach about and help our church journey with that we maybe haven't explored before? And so looking at, all right, so how do we talk about grief? And how do we help people journey some of this well? And engaging in some of those things, I think that we're a little outside of maybe how we engaged in those conversations before, and publicly anyway. So taking some of what would have taken place on a personal level pastorally and trying to look at, well, how do you take a community through this altogether?